Back with WMAY, Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop, and this is going to be a story we're going to hear a lot about throughout the day. Not just here with Springfield's Morning News, but also if you keep it with WMAY. I'm sure Brian Kilmeade's going to have a lot to say about it. I'm sure that Clay Travis and Buck Sexton are going to have tons to say about it. I'm sure that the Dana Show is going to have tons to say about it, as well with Springfield's Afternoon News with Jim Leach locally and Springfield's Evening News with Frank McNeil. It's all here on WMAY. Now, 6:39. So we heard a little bit of the protests outside the Capitol chanting "My Body, My Choice." We heard some of the speculation as to what's behind this historic leak. Nothing like this has ever happened before, where a opinion draft of the U.S. Supreme Court was leaked before it's actually officially signed off on by all the justices. So we heard Jamie Raskin, Maryland Democrats, talking about how this should put an impetus into people to get to the polls because obviously the issue of abortion is very contentious, very political, even though some want to just stay out of the politics of these types of decisions. But obvious that this is an issue that is going to be pretty crucial in the election for the November general midterm election. So what about Illinois, though? And I think that one thing that the indication provides from the Politico document dump is that the U.S. Supreme Court is looking to put the decision back into states' hands. So there are states that have gone to restrict abortion to certain time periods. So you can't do it after like the first trimester. Some that you can't do it after several weeks into it. Other states like Illinois have very liberal policies when it comes to abortion law. And I want to review some of what's the latest is in as far as what state lawmakers have accomplished at the State House under the Democratic supermajority. So close to the tail end of session in the House, and I got to track where this bill ultimately landed, but there was a House resolution reaffirming the state's focus on abortion rights and making sure that abortion is accessible and safe in Illinois. But there was also a measure. So, resolution is one thing, but there was an actual bill that passed that would provide protections for licensed medical professionals in Illinois if they just so happen to be a licensed medical professional in another state that does not allow for abortion, and that other state then has some type of peel back of a licensed medical professional's license. Illinois is looking to safeguard that, to keep that whole, and to have protections in place for those medical providers. So the sponsor of that legislation is Maura Hirschauer, and she was with other Democrats and the Planned Parenthood of Illinois organization close to the tail end of session. I think this was actually on March 30th, but she talked a bit about her bill and ultimately what it does. So here is State Representative Maura Hirschauer talking about her legislation to protect those who provide medical services when it comes to abortion.
This is a proactive bill. We can see with the way the tides are turning right now at the federal level. We are anticipating interjurisdictional type legislation coming from other states, and we are protecting providers in Illinois that might hold dual licenses, which many of them do in the surrounding states. So it's a proactive bill to protect providers here. Because as it stands now, there's a sort of a trigger mechanism when there's disciplinary action in one state that triggers the board in other states. So here in Illinois, we would see that, Dr. X's, license was disciplined for providing an abortion in Missouri. As it stands now, that would move our boards to look into that and possibly follow suit with disciplinary action. And this law says, nope, we have safe legal abortion in Illinois. We will not punish our providers for that.
So again, hearing some of the legislation there that would ultimately provide for some protections for those providers, and this was a measure that ultimately passed the House. Again, I got to follow up and see where it landed in the Senate. But I can imagine that that's going to move forward because we have other elements as well, including the repeal of parental notification for abortions in Illinois. And we've seen that sparked some pretty contentious debate. But we also have a pretty expansive expansive abortion law that was put into place several years ago. And Bridget Leahy, she's with Planned Parenthood of Illinois. She laid out ultimately what the current state of the law is in Illinois.
So the Reproductive Health Act that was signed into law says that the state cannot regulate abortion except for as it would for other, according to how other medical procedures are regulated. So the law respects the standard of care, basically, just like other medical procedures. However, it does have, when a fetus is considered viable, there's a restriction that the abortion can only be performed for the life or health of the woman. So there is that one caveat there.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know the date of what's considered viable.
So that's determined under our state law, under the Reproductive Health Act. The attending physician determines when a pregnancy is viable, and that's really important because some pregnancies never become viable, and other pregnancies, it can depend. You can have, it be different depending on how the pregnancy's been going and how the fetus has been developing. So rather than put on a specific time that doesn't recognize the variation in medical practice, et cetera, this is how we've done it. And actually, that's how abortion's been regulated in Illinois for decades.
So again, that's Bridget Leahy with Planned Parenthood of Illinois, kind of giving the spectrum of where Illinois abortion law stands, right? So no time frame set on when an abortion can be or can't be implemented, except for a physician determining the viability of the fetus. So it sounds kind of open-ended there, but also you've got taxpayer funds for the procedure. You hear reports about increased numbers of people coming into the state for the procedure, and Democrats at the State House say that you're going to see a lot more of that, especially if Roe v. Wade is overturned. You're going to see a lot more people coming to Illinois to get that procedure done. I was talking with somebody earlier, and they said, only the rich are going to be able to get that, and those who can travel, obviously. So raises some questions about access to this procedure. But I asked Bridget, and this again is late March, I believe, when they were doing a news conference at the state capitol, and I asked her, how do we bridge the divide between those who oppose abortion and those who want to have safe access to the medical procedure, because some people find the act of abortion abhorrent and morally repugnant. So here's her reaction to my question.
I would first take issue with the premise of your point or question, which is that when you look consistently over time, public polling has shown that the majority of Americans support Roe v. Wade. They do not want politicians making these health care decisions for them. They don't turn to politicians to make decisions about pregnancy, birth control, abortion. They look to themselves, their own personal circumstances, and they include the people that they trust and love in those decisions. And consistently polling, when we go out and talk in the community, generally, people understand that and get that. I would posit that a very small but vocal minority of people have made this a political issue when it should not be. Abortion is health care, and we should treat it as such and respect everyone's decision-making autonomy when it comes to their health care decisions, including abortion.
So that was, again, late March at the Illinois State House when some lawmakers got together to pass a resolution and another bill concerning abortion access, and that's just one state in the 50 states. So there's going to be continued debate about this. Now, this is all stemming from the Politico report that was released, ultimately saying that the U.S. Supreme Court's poised to shoot down Roe v. Wade. And I think that if you listen to the oral arguments on this, that was the indication months ago when they actually heard this particular case that they're set to decide on. And even the pundits back then were saying, well, it looks like, the majority of the court is looking to overturn Roe v. Wade. So was this a surprise to anybody, or was this leak, the motivation behind the leak, meant to be political? And as you heard Bridget Leahy there saying, unfortunately, some people have made this political. Well, is this leak of the draft document going to be used to inflate political sentiments? Obviously, a question that we'll watch unfold and get the answer to in the days, weeks, and months ahead.